But here's probably how loyal I am to a fault.
Yeah.
South Dakota gave me a chance. I asked AJ Smith if I could play my last game in South Dakota before I got on the
Really?
Yeah.
Hold on. But it's different times, you know?
It was like I felt like they gave me an opportunity. I just want to say thank you one more time, and we
Yeah.
went out and played in Iowa. But the funny piece was I backed in my coach's car when I was leaving, so it was like a whole ordeal. But
I ain't playing with them. No, I ain't playing with them. I ain't playing with them. No, I ain't playing with them. All of my jeans got bands in them. I knock them out of my hands in them. Now I ain't playing with them. Now I ain't playing with them. Yeah. These niggas know I ain't playing with them. No, I ain't playing.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. We back with another episode of No Cap Sports Talk. I'm Coach Marty. This is Coach Ant. We got the great Scott Pinkle. We got Coach D in the house, as you see. CBC Finest in the house. We're going to get to this episode. We're going to talk. We're going to let these guys explain about their life, the things they got going on, their past. And I just want to hear about it, y'all. Y'all already know what time it is. I've been waiting to get these boys in here, and it's on now. But before that, I got to give a shout out to our sponsors for this episode. Let's give a shout out to Limbs Are Us Tree Service out of North County. Make sure you tap in with those guys. They do great work. Give a shout out to Styles Clothing Company for making us look fresh. Yes, sir. We got Hustle and Heart, Mr. Pierre Desir, of course, and Underrated Films for making us look legit. Now, let's dive right in. How you doing, Mr. Pinkle?
I'm doing great, man. I love it. It's that off-season time where you're starting to see the transition going from the last year's senior class to this year's senior class. So It's always super exciting to see which of those new guys are now going to take that leadership role. So that's what I love most about the off-season.
Wow.
So you know the remaining seniors are still in the building, so they're trying to figure out what they're doing next in their life. But these other seniors are trying to figure out how to become leaders. So it's just a cool transition period.
So tell me this. So what do you guys? I know we jumped right into your high school situation. What do you guys do during the off season for as preparation?
Well, we actually are able to kind of, we have these activity advisory periods, so we can still meet regularly with our kids, at least kind of talk about, like, you know, we can talk about different things. I know Coach D will talk a little bit about what he's doing with his defensive squad.
Okay.
But we'll talk about a little bit what went well this past year, what things we could work on. We do a lot of reflective things because I think this is the time now where, like, hey, what worked, but what didn't work? But let's try to figure out the reason why it didn't work and then adjust with it. Too many times we think it's just going to naturally, organically change. I think you got to do a lot of self-reflecting and then make those changes. And you know, I think this generation of kids really want to know why. So you got to be very thorough and tell them this is the reason why this didn't work. And then, you know, they're going to be brutally honest this time of year because it's kind of they saw it work or didn't work for them.
So do you let your seniors lead that way, or is it like a collective thing where each guy can come give their comment on how they felt the season?
Right now, it's just I'm kind of seeing who steps up.
Okay.
So in an off season, you know, when I make each one of my position coaches meet with their position players and you know have exit meetings, and then after that, when we start our workouts, it's just kind of organically who's that next group of kids that are going to take that leadership role. And that's why the off-season weight room is so important. It's lifting weights, it's conditioning, it's doing all those things. But as a head coach, it's more like who's stepping up and being the next guy.
Nice.
So that's what I like. And Coach D will tell you a little bit about the program he's running.
So Coach D, you coach defense, right?
Sure do.
So when you guys meet, you said each position coach, they get to take the guys separately from the whole team, or is it a whole team? Like you got your guys like the DBs or the linebackers. How do you separate that room?
Well, it's a little bit of both. When we do our end of season evals, that kind of stuff, it's all based off of position. But most of the time, I'm one of the few guys that's in the building, so I get them all at one time.
Okay.
So I can talk to them as a unit. I can pull them off on each side in my same classroom to, you know, talk about each individual position.
Nice, nice. Well, I know we skipped right to the high school. I need to know about you guys personally. This is some things that this show is called No Cap, and I want to get to know the coach personally. You guys been around St. Louis area for a long time and been doing great things at CBC. And I want to know, how did you get started in your career and what made you go into coaching and teaching? Just give me some insight on how did you get started?
Yeah, great question. originally I was a math teacher.
Okay.
I got that degree in college, but I stayed coaching college football for 5 years after I graduated.
Okay. Where did you coach at?
I coached at Westminster College up in Fulton, Missouri. It's a
Yeah.
Division III. It's where I went.
Nice.
And then I stayed on there, and I had no intentions of necessarily being a coach, but at that time I got cut by the Buffalo Bills, and I wasn't sure what to do. So then,
Hold up. So you played football as well?
yeah, I played football.
See,
I
we
played.
skipped that part.
Well,
I went
you
to- I
asked
did go
me about
straight
my
to coaching.
coaching part, so
Yes,
I
sir. That's
told
my
you my.
fault.
I
I
told
want
you
to know
my
about
coaching
your
part.
playing career. I want to know everything
Yeah.
about you.
Yeah.
The people don't know.
So great. A lot of people probably don't know a lot about my past, and I don't talk much about it. But I went to Westminster. It's a D3 school, and I got there in 1996. And we were kind of the origination of the first real true passing team. We threw it all over the lot.
Wow.
I ended up with 436 catches in 4 years, so we averaged 109 catches.
Wow.
So I mean, it was one of those before the bubbles, before the now screens, the smoke
Before the
screens.
spread.
Yeah. But it was really unique about it was, we didn't have a lot of coaching. We had to do a lot of figuring out on our own. And what I mean
wow.
by that is, yeah, we had our position coach, but it was kind of like I didn't know what a cover 2 was. And I remember one time I ran it out and I just got drilled by
wow.
a squat corner.
That's tough.
And then you learn right then. But we were doing things on the fly, and we were doing up tempo, no huddle. And my quarterback, by the time we were juniors and seniors, he was calling plays on the field. So
wow.
it was kind of a unique time. I know you had Coach Bethany on the field when we played indoor together. That's where I met Coach Bethany. Then we kept going there. But my coolest experience was, I got picked up. I was in South Dakota right after I graduated. I went out to this Black Hills machine. I played indoor football,
Yes.
and it was one of those. Now this is 2000, mind you, so this was probably way before you
Yeah.
all's time. But we were in a hotel with 4 phone lines.
Oh, wow.
And you're, the whole team's in there, so you never know if you're ever going to get a line message. And they said, "Hey, Coach or Scott, AJ Smith's on the phone from the Buffalo Bills. He wants to talk to you." I'm like, "What?"
Oh, wow.
I'm in South Dakota.
So that's the only way to get a hold of you, the landline?
Yeah, on a
Wow.
landline on one of the 4 lines, and he ended up calling me and saying, "Would you want to come up here to Buffalo?" And I said, "Sure." But here's probably how loyal I am to a fault.
Yeah.
South Dakota gave me a chance. I asked AJ Smith if I could play my last game in South Dakota before I got on the
Before going to the- really? Hold on, but it's different times, you know?
It was like I felt like they gave me an opportunity. I just want to say thank you one more time, and we
Yeah.
went out and played in Iowa. But the funny piece was I backed in my coach's car when I was leaving, so it was like a whole ordeal. But so I did that for a while.
Okay.
Got cut by the Bills in August. Then the next year, the best thing I ever did, and I would tell any kid that's ever, we all want to make it NFL. We all want to be the biggest. But I went over and played in Europe for a season.
NFL Europe?
My team was owned by NFL Europe, but it was called the German Football League, and it
Okay.
was just an awesome experience. So
Nice.
any 23, 24, 25-year-old not knowing what they're doing and still want to passionately play for the game,
Yes.
go overseas. I mean, there's leagues in Australia, Italy. We got a coach who's got a son in Japan right now. It's just
That's
there's
great
a lot
advice,
of
man.
American football elsewhere, and you can travel the world and not spend a dime. And it was the coolest experience for me. It transitioned who I was as a human being
Nice.
because it made me realize how important things were and family was in my life. So when I came back, my whole outlook on life changed. So, and then I got into coaching, and then things kind of took off from there. But I'll
But that was kind of awesome. So you got to play overseas and stuff like that. And kids need to hear that because they think if you don't make it past,
Right.
you started at Division III for one. It wasn't Division I, and you still ended up getting a call from the Buffalo Bills and playing overseas. So I think that's great advice for these kids today because they need to realize if you just got to put it all out there, man,
and
try it.
But the thing I will also say to all these young kids, when you get that one opportunity, I mean, most of the time the NFL is going to come knocking one time.
Yeah,
And if
that's
you're
it.
ready, you got to be ready. You can't think it's going to happen again. And I played another 2 or 3 years indoor thinking it might happen. But my most favorite year was my last year of playing because I knew at this point it's almost back to playing for the love of the game. I'm
Yeah.
not chasing anymore. I'm playing the sport. It's so much fun. It was
That makes sense.
You travel in buses and you're in the back of the buses drinking a few beers with your buddies.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
it's just different. It's like fun and you're an adult. So
That's experience,
That's
though,
that's
man.
the thing that people always say, would you rather play or coach? And 1,000% play.
But that's
1,000%.
life experience. You
Yes.
can give those to your CBC kids. You can give them that real life experience. How many people do we know that made it to the NFL? All right, we know some people, but
Right.
a lot of guys don't have the opportunity to see the real side. I like to hear the backside. of the
Our
story.
receiver coach is Justin Gage, who you got to have on here one time too.
Hey, we'd love to tell them to get
Eight-year
over here.
vet in the NFL, and you mentioned they need to hear that. Well,
Yes.
this is the guy that can give them all that knowledge, but they got to want to hear it too. They also got to want to understand it. And you know, I'm not saying kids are wrong, but it's okay to ask for advice. A lot of them kids think they know it all, and like it's okay not to know it all at this age. You're not supposed to know it all. So
Right. Use your tool that you got in your ability. Don't be afraid to ask someone. You know, I love that, man. Coach D, you sitting over there looking like an OG. Tell me something about yourself, man. We know you, but tell us something that the people don't know about you. How did you get started into coaching, and how long you been coaching over there with Scott?
We've been together since 2005. 2005 was our first year at CBC together.
Nice.
Before that, actually, I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm not from Missouri.
Pittsburgh fan?
No, other side of the state.
Okay.
I'm actually from a little suburb outside of Allentown.
Okay.
So growing up there, kind of honestly looking back at it, kind of built my philosophy for how we play defense. Like if you can run the ball in November and you can stop the run in November, you're going to be successful.
Tough.
So that's kind of blue collar where I grew up, where I'm from. Went to the Citadel, and my first coaching job was at Missouri Military Academy, actually.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
I was out there for a year, and then I left to go to Fork Union Military Academy in Virginia.
Nice.
So it was all boys private school, middle of nowhere. Town was 300, and that's where I met some of the most influential people that I think that I've ever met. So that kind of shaped who I was and the kind of coach that I became.
So needless to say that you're a tough guy.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
man.
you're a tough guy. First time we met, I don't know if you remember, we kind of clicked right away. I said, I like this guy. We was just talking defense, trying to figure it out. We was talking about the 3-4, trying to figure out things. I love that, man.
Yeah.
So tell me like some ups and downs that you guys go through over there at CBC. I mean, some guys think it's all just roses and flowers, and I understand private school is you guys got to go through your guys things like we do.
Yeah.
What are some ups and like some pros and cons that you guys go through over there?
Well, I think Butch and I have a unique history together that we can talk for 20 years now, almost 20 years, where, you know, we've seen the climate of high school football change.
Yeah,
We've seen the climate of recruiting change. You know, the way colleges are recruiting. We've seen the climate of just how kids are changing, how parents are changing. So when you say the ups and downs, I think it's the ebbs and flows of what we've seen. You know, we kind of came in on the back end where coaches were always right.
Yeah.
And now we're on this end where, you know, prove to me that you know what you're doing. It's kind of the mentality out there now. And that's fine. You know, like we've had some success, but I have no problem like saying, okay, you know, we're really good about each year being a new year. And,
that makes sense.
Not like even, that is, everyone asks me, well, are you guys going to build on this success? I'm like, well, yeah, but it's a different class. It's a different
New
story.
team.
So every time it's a new team, it's different. But, you know, the challenges we face is kind of, you know, believe it or not, no one will believe this, but I'm going to say it on this podcast. Like, I don't know who's on my roster till August 18th, till they show up till the first day of school. You know, I know that
that's tough though.
But it's one of those things. It is tough.
That's tough.
But it's one of those things where I truly value our freshmen. Butch knows this. Our first 10 days, there's no one coaches the freshmen but the varsity staff.
Oh, wow.
I put my eyes on them. I want to challenge them. I want to see what they can do. And you know, I want them to know that they're being noticed. I think what we do a really good job of is our program is our program. It is, if you're a freshman, you're just as valued to me as a senior. We watch all the game film, and you know, I think it's important for those underclassmen to understand they're being viewed and watched and evaluated. And I think the highs
smart.
and lows is just dealing with I look at a 14-year-old kid, and I look at two things. I look at daddy, and I look at his shoe size.
Makes sense.
You know, like
How tall he gonna be?
Yeah, because you know, I'm not going to evaluate you at 14. I'm going to evaluate: can you listen? Can you work hard? Can you be coached?
Right.
And then I know that you're going to grow into a man at some point. And then we'll bear those fruits and see what happens after down the road. But you know, getting them involved, getting them excited to be there. I'm pretty excited about our retention rate from year to year. Like we graduate on a typical average 24 to 29 seniors a year.
Man, that's
and I
tough.
think it just means that they want to come back from freshman year to sophomore year to junior year to senior year. And I like that we were able to keep a program, even through all the concussion stuff and all the COVID, like our numbers were still like, last year we were probably in the 130, 140 range for our program. So
okay, that's good,
I take
man.
a lot of pride in having a spot for people. And
So you got that standard, and you include your freshmen in everything that you guys do. Well, at first. to
At
start- to kick off
first,
the season, right,
yeah, and make sure that all the freshmen feel like they're part of CBC culture. CBC,
smart.
you know, because at the end of the day, it's you hope those seniors are showing those guys what it looks like, and then it keeps kind of progressing. And people always say, well, how have you maintained the success? And I think it's that, you know, that unilateral thing. The seniors show the freshmen, and then it just kind of goes to sophomore and then junior. I would say probably, like most programs, our sophomore year is our hardest year.
Yeah.
Because they're no longer
transition.
freshmen. They're now full-time with the varsity and JV, and it's just kind of like, okay, things are different now.
Here we go.
We're counting on you a little bit more.
And it's hard because those kids have to service the varsity as scout team guys.
Yeah.
But they still got to know our system, our program, our expectations, so they can perform on Mondays and they can play at a high level.
That's a lot of work for those
Yeah, for
guys,
sure.
and not to get in on a Friday night maybe. Listen.
And I think one of the struggles we had, it's kind of a fun struggle, but like these kids are getting bigger and bigger
Yeah,
all
they
the
are.
time. So you see this 14-year-old kid who's 280, you're like, shit. He's a grown-ass man.
But you forget he's 14.
But you forget he's 14. He's
Right.
crying on the sideline when something bad. I'm like, oh yeah, he's 14,
He
15-year-old
look like he's
kid.
about 50, look like he's about 17, 18, 19-year-old.
A funny story. One of the
Wow.
years we started 4 offensive linemen. There were sophomores, and I mean, I hope these guys don't get mad at me for sharing. I won't say their names, but like we had 4 different games where each one of them had a breakdown on the sideline because. You know, you're dealing with 15-year-olds playing against, Darren Sunken over the east side, So it's just like,
They like, Coach, you gonna throw me out here?
yeah. So it's you just forget that sometimes these are not quite men yet,
That's true.
but
It
we're trying to
makes
make them there. Yeah.
So what are some little things that you guys help them do to navigate that and to ultimately help them develop as they continue to go through your program and grow in your program?
I would say our program, you're very seldom comfortable in our program. We challenge them definitely physically, but we do challenge them mentally. I mean, this sport has changed so much. You cannot be dumb and play this sport. You cannot, fake it in class and play this sport. You have to know adjustments on the fly. You have to be coachable. So, we give a lot of scenarios and situations. Coach does a great job on the defense with all kind of like third down situations, second down situations. We do these. A blessing and a curse for us. We do a 10-minute segment every day called GATA, ones versus ones.
Yeah.
And it is the most competitive thing I've ever been a part of in my coaching or playing because it's just one-on-one.
Come on.
They hate the other stuff because it's like they don't
Yeah.
understand why it's important to do an individual or why it's important to do a skelly pair. They just want to do. I'm like, dudes, we can't do this for 90 minutes. You can't go battle
Right,
them
right.
If they had a
one-on-one.
choice, they would.
Yeah.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, so we like I said, I think we put him in uncomfortable situations, and I'll let Coach speak a little bit what he does, but I think just not making him feel comfortable.
I love that.
I mean, what I've always tried to do since I've been there is we've been trying to take adults out of the situation.
Makes sense.
Try to make coaches on the field so that those kids can they have a better advantage point than I do.
Right.
And it's hard sometimes, like trying to get them to think like you.
Exactly.
Right. So if you can get those 10 kids to be able to do those kind of things and have those tools to be able to do that, it's like having tools for life, right?
Yes.
You're trying to teach them to be good fathers, good husbands, going forward, and they have those tools. We do that at Glencoe all the time, and Scott does a great job with that. But on the field, we're trying to make sure that they're coaches.
Yeah.
It's ultimately them, and that's where we get the biggest buy-in because kids are watching more film than us, kids are doing more things than us, and it's awesome because they're involved in the preparation and it feels like they're theirs, like it's theirs.
And we want to tell them, like, if you're coming to me with a suggestion you saw,
Right.
just like I tell my coaches, I tell my players, same thing. Tell me why. Don't just say I saw this and it was cool. I'm going to tell you, he'll laugh. My first year as a head coach, I saw this awesome ass drill. I went to Glacier Clinic. I'm like, I'm going to rep this drill. I got my starting guard hurt day one. Cause
He like, Coach, what are we doing?
Like I did this dumbass drill that like I saw and I didn't have my why behind it.
Right, makes
So
sense.
now like if you saw this play, yeah, Clemson ran this play, okay, but we don't have Trevor Lawrence back there. How are we going to do it?
Thank you.
Like we don't have Joe Burrow back there. So I always say, okay, why and how's this going to work? But I also, and we do a good job. I think we're older. We get it.
Right.
But we also try to relate it to it. Every time I talk offense, especially with my quarterbacks, I talk about Madden a lot.
Makes sense.
Because the guys know Madden. And I say,
They
okay.
can relate to that.
What do you guys, is that the arrow route or the shoot route? What do they, they call it the arrow route. Okay. So I like always,
See?
but I always, my way I teach my quarterback, to me, I think it's real big to see the picture.
Yeah.
You can't just memorize a play. You got to see the picture. And I always say, can you see your Madden lines? Whenever you hit your R2, can do your yellow lines shine up on your play? So quarterback, can you see your yellow lines? And and I'm real big on too. And this started years ago. Don't tell me what I want to hear.
Exactly.
Don't tell me what I want to hear because you're my eyes out there. So what do you see? Don't say, and I never want to say I thought. Nuh-uh.
Right.
What did you see? Don't tell me what you thought you saw. Tell me what did you saw.
Tell me the facts.
Yeah, and now I haven't done the GoPro yet, but I'm close. I want to get into that because I know that so many good coaches do that. But it's just like, where are you going to find an extra 20 minutes or a half an hour inside of a high school day now?
Man,
to
and
do
the kids already they on the clock, know what time they're supposed to get out of practice, and they got a reason to leave.
Yeah.
And as coaches, and I understand we have to evolve with the times. You know, what you say you guys first got started, we can be the coach know everything. Now the kids have been they didn't say it online. I didn't read that. Yeah, they can go on anybody podcast, no cap, and be like, well, they didn't say that online. And but I like what you said. You got to have an answer for me, and I got an answer for you. Yeah. And the more they can own on the field, and they play faster.
Yeah,
that's just real.
It's
talk.
About choices too.
It real talk.
Right? They're making their choices.
Yeah,
and they're going to make most of their mistakes over the summer, so it's correctable, right? So when they're at that moment in August when they're getting ready to kick off on a Friday night, they know the answers or possible choices that they have. It's just, can you live with the choice that you made? Yeah, which is what we're really trying to push them to be good men when they're older.
And it's been proven because the wins, as you see, you guys been winning a lot of games over the years, and evidently that standard has worked for you guys. And I see it work I feel the same when we coach. We got standards, we try to stick to that. But as coaches, I've realized we got to evolve with these young guys because they really, really think in the game. Yeah. A lot more than I think we used to. Like you said, you didn't even know what a cover 2 was. You was playing in college, you know what I mean?
Well, and I think kids too, when we grew up, we probably watched football on Saturday, and they just kind of watch the highlights now. So they don't get to see the study of the game and really understand all the parts of the game. You know, I'm real big.
Tough.
One of my favorite segments that we do on our Tuesdays is we make our running backs play offensive line.
Ooh, that's something
new. And they're doing it on air, but I want them to understand where the play is trying to hit and what these guys are doing up front because, you know, too much of these kids don't really know, oh, I'm running stretch right, I'm running right. Okay, but how's the lineman doing it? So I think it's, again, I think that the more everybody knows what everybody's doing, but to your point and Coach's point, we can't make it too complicated that it's not playing fast because, you know, once you quit thinking, man, that's when the game's fun, and that's what the summer's about. Yeah, we're making you think, we're making you uncomfortable, we're making you challenge, but that's our practices should be harder than games, and that's kind of how we are.
Man, you guys spend so much knowledge today. I'm learning some more.
No, literally, I'm just soaking it all in. Literally,
that's good. Hey, man, that's what great coaching is. So you guys got over 20 years of together.
Right at next year will be our 20th year together.
That's awesome, man. And you guys.
But we both learned from Bob Shannon. We got to talk about Bob.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Bob was a great.
So you was there when he was.
Bob. We got to the first year Butch and I were up in the booth.
Okay.
And it was the first time and probably our last time we were really in the booth, and it was like a fun. I don't know how to describe it. Other than it was just different. It was interesting. We weren't sure what to do.
Yeah.
And then the next year, Bob let us coordinate. I was offensive coordinator. Butch was a defensive coordinator, and I learned a lot about adjustment because Bob likes things a certain way, and he's just a funny guy. Now when I reflect back, I'm like, I didn't always understand things, but now I understand a little bit better.
Yeah.
But Bob would want things a certain way, but I wanted to do it a certain way, so I had to
let him know, huh?
Well, no. He let me know.
Hey, let him know. Let you know.
If I wanted to get a 4-wide set,
okay,
I'd have motion out of the backfield.
I got you.
It made me become a little bit more creative because Bob wanted things done a certain way. And
I got you.
So
makes sense.
And then I know with Butch, he had a lot of funny stories about how Butch, he challenged you with defense and Andy Reid and everything.
Oh man, all the time. We had an argument about down blocks one time and the footwork that goes into down blocks.
Okay.
And what he was suggesting, which I'm sure is what he knew, was wasting time. It was not wasting time of the conversation, but just wasting time in your footwork, right?
Yeah.
So I showed him, well, this is how I was taught, and this is how we do it. And he goes, well, if you're not going to do it that way, we'll get Andy Reid down here. And I'm thinking, I think he's going to have time from the Eagles to come talk to us right now. So
that'd be dope to have Andy Reid.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bob had connections.
He did.
Like, he was a fun guy to work for, and like I said, we learned a ton from him. And,
that got that program moving in the right direction when it seemed like when they hired him over there.
Yeah. I think we're proud because I think I counted one day, I think in the last 57 years, there's only been 3 coaches over there. You know, it went from Brian Haggerty to Bob to us. And,
that's good,
I think the continuity's been really good. Our staff's been together forever. So,
nice.
So it's kind of been a fun little ride here for sure.
Man, I don't know what else to say. You guys got any questions for us?
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you guys. Hey, it's no cap. I'm gonna let you get to talk to me. Ask any question that you want to have me.
I do have another question.
Oh, there we go.
I know you guys like Jeremiah. You just sent off to Oregon. What are things like another thing you said that the recruiting game has changed so much over the time. what are things that you would recommend to young viewers watching those high school guys? How do you think they should, or what do you think they should prioritize trying to navigate or even get the attention of recruiters to
Well,
get those
I think
offers?
depending on what age we're talking about, but I think the biggest advice I would give is, go where you're wanted, not always where you want to go.
Trying to tell
Because
you.
I think it's super important to go where you're getting the love. And the toughest conversation I have to have is like, you show a D lineman, a D1's this, a D2 is this, D3 is this. I think the kids got to do some research on their own and say, this is my size. Am I realistically going to be
Recruited by that person.
yeah, so like I always tell my kids, look, if you're gonna give me 10 schools, you can have your pie in the sky dream. Give me that one. If you want to go to Bama, you want to go to Oregon, let's go. I'll send anything out to anybody I know. But then I always talk about, are you a geographical recruit or you're a national recruit?
Yeah.
Most high school kids in St. Louis are geographical recruits.
Yeah.
There's Jameson Williams, Jeremiah McClellan, there's Ryan Wingo. Yeah,
Yeah.
but there ain't all of them like that. So.
Those guys blessed with talent too.
Yeah.
though.
And I tell them,
Little bit
I'm an
more.
old D3 guy, and I'm like, any college is really a step up from high school. So be ready. Like to go in there and think you're going to be the guy next year. Come on now. Come on now. And my other statement is like, I'm sorry, like I hate it. Like I think we got phenomenal talent in Missouri and St. Louis, but what pisses me off the most is sometimes, you got those 5'8", 5'9" running backs, the little water bugs that can go.
Yeah.
And if I know if they were in Texas or Florida, they'd get a bigger chance in St. Louis. And that's
Yep.
the stuff that really upsets me.
Yep, real talk.
But it is a reality of it. And I'm just like, look, dude,
It's just where we from,
yeah.
man.
And if you're playing running back or quarterback, just know that shit's hard to get recruited. Excuse my language.
No,
That's hard to get
Hey,
recruited,
you
man.
talking here.
It is
No
hard to get
cap.
recruited, man, because they take one, and with the whole transfer portal and now who they take, like, it's always like, I'm going to take one portal kid, one high school kid.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay. And then what does that mean? Where are they at on the board? So the recruiting game's changed. Now, the one piece of advice I wouldn't have said 10 years ago that I'm saying now. I tell my kids straight up, and I tell my college coaches, I'm going to tell them this. Like, if you're not happy, D2's a good school.
Definitely.
This is now an era where you can use the portal to your advantage. I said you got to be smart with it one time. You can't be going. People think you can transfer all the time. It's one time, free, and then use it as a way. But and I also tell kids, do not enter that doggone portal if you're not a starter, if you're not on an all-conference team, because you're not going to go up from practice film. People, I don't. So that's what people are getting, these outside voices telling them that, hey, enter the portal. I'm like, man, don't enter the portal unless you know where you're going, and you got film, and you're leaving your school in good graces. You can't leave that school, because some schools will take you back. Not everybody will take you back.
They don't have to.
Woo. Well, fellas, we gonna wrap it up, because right there is enough to wrap it up off of. And I hope these guys enjoyed you guys here. I definitely enjoyed you guys, and I hope that these take it serious, guys. Listen to these guys. They dropped a lot of knowledge for us, and this No Cap podcast has been popping. And I'm glad
Appreciate
to
you,
have
man.
Mr. Pingle, Mr. Butch.
Coach.
Definitely appreciate you all.
It was awesome, man.
Thanks
and
for having us,
gonna
man.
have you guys back.
Is it been 30 minutes already?
30 minutes go by quick, baby. When you're having fun, because it's time,
it
big
does,
man,
it does,
for
it
the
does.
No Cap.
I gotta hop in now.
Cap.
Okay.
No Cap. Hey,
Get out of here.
let's go.
No, I ain't playing